Hello everyone! Today we are going to be exploring Montauk, the easternmost point of Long Island. We are going to be exploring 3 of the 6 state parks in the area: Montauk Point State Park, Camp Hero State Park, and Shadmoor State Park. There are a lot of interesting things to see, including the Montauk Point Lighthouse, beaches, wildlife, and bluffs along the waterfront. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So we start the video here at Montauk Point State Park, which is located at the southern fork at the eastern end of Long Island. Montauk is about 118 miles away from Midtown Manhattan. So how would you travel here? Most likely you would take a passenger car. If you're starting from Manhattan, northern Queens, or the Bronx, the main route you would take is Interstate 495, the Long Island Expressway, or the LIE. Take it eastbound towards exit 70 for Suffolk County Route 111 for Eastport and Manorville. Make a right turn heading in the southbound direction and travel this road towards the end of it to intersect with New York State Route 27, the Sunrise Highway. If you're starting from southern Brooklyn, southern Queens, or Staten Island, take the Belt Parkway to exit 25A for the Southern State Parkway eastbound. Then take the Southern State Parkway for exit 44E for New York State Route 27 east for the Sunrise Highway. Both routes intersect together at exit 62 at Suffolk County Route 111. Then take New York State Route 27, which will become a boulevard and then a surface street. This is also known as the Montauk Highway. Take this road all the way towards its eastern terminus. And you would know this when you see the Montauk Point State Lighthouse and the road eventually circles around the parking lot. Originally, there were plans for an extension of the Sunrise Highway approved in 1969. However, freeway revolts from people who lived in the area ultimately shut down the project in 1975. And there could be a lot of traffic in the area, which can extend your commute times by half to 2 hours. Thus, when we were traveling here around 7 o'clock, we actually had to take a circuitous route along the northern part of the southern fork, which adds 6 miles towards the trip. Another way of traveling here is by taking the commuter rail or the train, which is the Long Island Railroad, LIRR, or the LIRR. This is operated by the MTA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority. You would take the Montauk branch, which spans for 115 miles. It starts from Long Island City, Queens during rush hours or at Jamaica Station at all other times. Take it eastbound towards Montauk Station, the last stop. This is actually one of 4 diesel lines. We have the Oyster Bay branch, the Port Jefferson branch, the Ronkonkoma branch, and the Montauk branch. There are actually no bus connections to the state parks, which is about 6 miles away. So you actually have to be aware, according to the MTA's website, when the state park will actually give bus tours towards the Montauk Point State Park to see the lighthouse and other state parks in the area. Where did we get the name Montauk, and what's its history? The Montucket, or the Metoac, or more commonly known as Montauk, are an Algonquin-speaking Native American people from the eastern and central sections of Long Island, New York. The exact meaning of the name Montauk is unknown, although it derives from a place name in the Mohegan Montauk Narragansett language and roughly translates to the Fort Country. It is a hamlet located in the town of East Hampton. It is particularly famous for its fishing, claiming to have more world saltwater fishing records than any other port in the world. We have the world record blue shark, which weighs 528 pounds, caught on August 9, 2001. There's also the world record summer flounder, also known as the fluke, which weighs 22.44 pounds, caught on September 15, 1975. And both of these are actually current world records. There's also the tuna, striped bass, and porgy. We are located about 20 miles or 32 kilometers off the Connecticut coast, and it is home to the largest commercial and recreational fishing fleet in New York State. Here's our location relative to the map. Connecticut is just north of us, about 20 miles, if I can see it, but there may be Fisher's Island over there. That actually was disputed between Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New York, but ultimately Fisher's Island ultimately went to New York. I can't even see the Long Island from here. Maybe it's the fog or the haze or the visibility, but all I see is just the ocean below. Maybe if I get on top, we may get better perspective on this, but I don't think I see anything much over here. But quite nice. We are at Montauk Point Lighthouse, New York's first lighthouse. Lighthouses used to serve the purpose of warning mariners of dangerous shallows and perilous rocky coasts, and help guide vessels safely into and out of harbors. The messages of these long-trusted aids to navigation are simple: either stay away, danger, beware, or come this way. On August 7, 1789, Congress approved the Lighthouse Act, the first public works program undertaken by the new federal government, which established and supported lighthouses, beacons, buoys, and public piers. Members of Congress thought the bill was so important that they passed the measure even before they established pay for themselves. August 7th is recognized as National Lighthouse Day. So in 1792, Congress authorized construction of the Montauk Lighthouse, and it was completed in 1796. The tower is 110 feet and 6 inches, 33.68 meters high. The current light is a 3.5 order bivalve or clamshell Fresnel lens. The huge first order Fresnel lens was replaced in 1903 with a 3.5 order bivalve Fresnel lens, which served until February 3, 1987, when it was replaced with an airport beacon with a strength of 2.5 million candela. However, as of November 6, 2023, the half-order bivalve Fresnel lens that was replaced in 1987 had been restored and is now back atop the lighthouse. This was actually the first public works project of the United States. It is the fourth oldest active lighthouse in the country. On April 12, 1792, construction on the lighthouse was authorized by the Second United States Congress under President George Washington. Ezra L. Homadeo, a lawyer, member of Continental Congress in Philadelphia, and a man with scientific interests, consulted with Washington on its construction. He represented the New York City Chamber of Commerce on discussions related to the lighthouse. He made the case that New York City was first among American ports in the volume of its foreign commerce. By 1797, the harbor was handling a third of the nation's trade with other countries. Due to prevailing winds in winter, shippers approached from sea needed a lighthouse at the end of Long Island to guide them along the south shore into New York Harbor. El Homadeo chose the site for the lighthouse and designed it. The project began on June 7, 1976, and was completed on November 5, 1796. El Homadeo chose the site for the lighthouse and designed it. The project began on June 7, 1796, and was completed on November 5, 1796. The first public works project of the new United States. Sometime in early 1797, keeper Jacob Hann lit the wicks in the lamp at the tower, and the lighthouse began operation. It continued under civilian keepers until World War II, when the U.S. Army took it over. As we walk along the shore, notice that all of these stones are placed right in front of the lighthouse along the shoreline. This is actually not original to Long Island. This is actually a man-made intervention to actually prevent shoreline erosion from the saltwater waves and from storm surges from hurricanes. The United States Army Corps of Engineers announced on January 13, 2020, the award of $30.7 million to contract H&L Contracting of Bayshore, New York, to restore and protect the lighthouse from shoreline erosion. Work began in 2021 and ended in August 2023. The approximately 1,000 linear feet stone revetment work consists of removing and reusing existing 5 and 10-ton armor stones, placement of new 10 and 15-ton armor stones, and providing slope stabilization with terracing and vegetation above the upper crest of the revetment. The project also included a complete repainting of the lighthouse. The total project cost $44 million. This one has an engraving of 8+00. And so does the other ones. I wonder what that means. This is a very rocky beach. A lot of the small stones and rocks would constantly cover my sandals and even get inside of my shoes. Even when taking off my sandals and walking barefoot, walking along the shoreline is a bit painful. Next stop, Camp Hero State Park. Here's some information about the bluffs located along the shoreline of Montauk. These are not actually cliffs, and bluffs like these could be as high as 70 feet. Be careful about the embankment here. That's a very... Oh, wow. This is it. Yeah, we saw these the other side. The site is known as Camp Hero, or the Montauk Air Force Station, which was originally commissioned by the United States Army in 1942. Camp Hero was originally a coastal defense station that was disguised as a fishing village, and its location was chosen to prevent a potential invasion of New York from the sea. Camp Hero was named after Major General Andrew Hero, Jr., who was the Army's commander of coastal artillery and who died in 1942. The park occupies a portion of the former Montauk Air Force Station. In 1984, the General Services Administration attempted to sell the entire facility to real estate developers. Local environmental activists protested, claiming that the site had many unique ecosystems and animal habitats. The remaining portions of the military reservation at Montauk were decommissioned, and most of the facility, including Camp Hero, was donated to the National Park Service, which then turned it over to the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Portions not deemed environmentally sensitive were sold off. Camp Hero State Park was opened to the public on September 18, 2002. There are plans to create a museum and an interpretive center that will focus on World War II and Cold War history inside the radar tower. Some parts of the camp remain closed off and guarded, especially the areas near the old radar installations. The AN-FPS-35 Army-Navy 35th design of fixed radar search frequency diversity radar was a long-range search radar used in the early 1960s. It was one of the largest air defense radars ever produced, with its antenna and supporting structure mounted on one of the largest rolling element bearings in the world, with a ball pitch of 12 feet 7 inches in diameter. All of the radars have been dismantled, except for the one at Camp Hero State Park, on the eastern tip of Long Island in Montauk, New York. It was the last to operate on January 1981, and the radar tower is still the only one that still has an antenna on the roof and contains some of the radar set equipment and cabinets. The antenna was repaired with parts from the Sault Ste. Marie station after it closed in October 1979. The Montauk antenna is very corroded and cannot be rotated. The structure was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2002. The 150-foot tower dominates the environs and can be seen from as far as Charleston, Rhode Island to the east, 22 miles, and Orient Point, New York, 20 miles to the west. This is the Bluff overlook. Another cliffside. It's much taller. Gotta be careful here. There's a lot of rocks on that beach on the bottom. This is all the Atlantic Ocean right here. Just a few boats, seagulls. Kind of a long walk to get here from the parking lot in Commuter State Park. He saw me and ran away, but not at a fast speed. Cool to see a deer. Still in the bushes. There. Out in the forest. The next and final stop on this trip, Shadmoor State Park. Shadmoor State Park derives its name from the thick shad bush found growing atop the bluffs. Shadmoor State Park is a 99-acre or 0.4 square kilometer state park located in Suffolk County, New York, in the United States. Created in 2000, the park is located in town of East Hampton on the South Fork of Long Island, 1/4 mile or 0.4 kilometers east of the hamlet of Montauk. Prior to becoming a park, the land was used as part of the coastal defense system for New York City during World War II. So this is looking eastward from Shadmoor State Park. And we're really high. Shouldn't be here, but gotta be careful. It's super tall. Oh, there's a bunch of birds over there in the back. Some people over there are collecting stuff on the beach. But man, this is incredible. This park is very close to the village, maybe about a mile away of Montauk. You see a little bit of it right there. Eastward, we see a little bit of the Camp Hero State Park, the radar tower, but I don't see the lighthouse from here. Maybe we're a bit too far. But there's a lot of people over there going for the beach. For some bonus content, let's talk about the little green signs or the New York State reference route markers. This is from Montauk Point State Park at the east end of Long Island. The route number is 27. Then we get 07, which stands for Long Island, particularly Suffolk County. Then we get the number 5, which stands for New York State Route 27 crosses through 5 counties. So where did we get 5 from? New York State Route 27 begins at the intersection of Gowanus Expressway, Interstate 278, at the Prospect Expressway. Then travels eastward for about 120 miles, crossing through Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk County. So shouldn't that number be 4? Well, the key here is that the original route from the 1930s actually deviates a little bit on its western end. At the intersection of Flatbush Avenue and Caton Avenue, originally the route would turn right northbound on Flatbush Avenue, then traveling along the Manhattan Bridge towards Canal Street, which ultimately dumps you into the Holland Tunnel where it terminated. Then, in 1970, New York State Route 27A, which also used to travel in Manhattan, was decommissioned, and New York State Route 27 was extended along Caton Avenue to travel along Coney Island Avenue, Church Avenue, and then Prospect Expressway. Then it was extended a little further for about 6 miles towards the Gowanus Expressway, taking the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, the Hugh L. Carey Tunnel, then traveling on West Street northbound or the West Side Highway. Then it would exit off Canal Street, where it would end at the Holland Tunnel as well. So, because of this, technically New York State Route 27 used to extend for 5 counties, and this is why we have the number 5. If we replace the little green signs that last for every 1/10 of a mile on each direction, this would probably be a very costly thing to fix. So we still leave it at 5 for internal records. The number 1 on the bottom left indicates that we only cross through one of the control segments in Suffolk County, which makes sense because we don't have another city to base it off of. Then the last 3 digits on the bottom, 922, indicates that we are 92.2 miles away from the Nassau and Suffolk County border on New York State Route 27, which is the Sunrise Highway. As you can see from Google Maps, the distance is actually 89.2 miles. I think the discrepancy occurred because the Sunrise Highway was not actually complete until 1998. So probably Route 27 was rerouted onto a bunch of streets, and the distance can probably add up to an additional 3 miles to get 92.2. Hey, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I definitely recommend to visit Montauk. It's definitely a wonderful trip. However, it is a little bit tricky to navigate through the area due to the road system, and it could be very busy, especially during rush hour time. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give this video a like. And if you want to see more from my trips, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much, everybody, and have an amazing day.